Hi, my name is Shamala Keenum. I'm the owner of Grounded Path Holistic Counseling in Virginia. Here I provide therapy, also online to parents and individuals all across the country and world. I'm able to teach some parenting and mindfulness classes, as well as ear acupuncture, a specific type of auricular acupuncture designed to treat trauma, addiction, and anxiety. For here, right now, for today, I'm really happy to welcome you to today's Introduction to Positive Discipline presentation. So I'm recording this because I understand that a lot of our parents right now are so busy. There's so much going on. And so I'm hoping that this will give you a taste of positive discipline and maybe invite you to find a way to carve some time out for one of our more involved workshops where you can really put these concepts to task, get more familiar with them, and bring them into the home where you can really start noticing some incredible changes. So I was introduced to positive discipline when my daughter was 2 years old, and I was a single parent at the time and preparing to start nursing school, working full time. And positive discipline taught me how to be a cycle breaker, how to stop some of those more ineffective parenting strategies that I had brought with me just from my own upbringing, and instead provide my daughter and eventually my bonus sons that I were brought into my life later a better opportunity to have the skills that they need to navigate this very complex world while kind of maintaining their own respect and feel more responsible. So, in my experience, there's two types of parenting programs. There are the ones that depend on the external locus of control, which is punishment. And usually that will work, right, temporarily. And then there's those like positive discipline that teach internal locus of control, which is essentially to do the right thing when no one else is looking. So, in just a few minutes, we'll have an opportunity to kind of explore this a little bit together. We'll be using our imagination and our mind's eye. But first, we're going to create two lists together. So, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine, just imagine in your like beautiful brain that your child is now grown up, they're 25 years old, and they're knocking at your door and they're giving you a little surprise visit. So you're walking towards the door, turning the handle, and what kind of person do you hope to see in front of you there? What kind of characteristics and life skills do you want this person in front of you to have? So just see what comes to mind. Many parents don't realize that discipline methods that they use actually do not help achieve what we want for our children. So, the first step in learning to be the best, but not the perfect parent you can be, is to create a roadmap to help guide you to your destination. So, looking at these two lists are common answers that many of our past workshop participants have shared. And I would just like you to take a look at both these lists and explore, if you were in this workshop live right now, what you would add to the challenges list. Or maybe these resonate with you right now. Or maybe your kids are older and they struggle with being on their phones all the time or gaming a lot. So just kind of taking a look here and then maybe mentally adding or even writing it down for yourself right now what some of the present challenges are that you're going through with your children. And then looking over at the future characteristics and life skills that we hope our children will develop. And again, maybe some of these are really in congruence with what your values are. Maybe not, or maybe there's some that you'd like to add. So maybe just taking in this list now and seeing what you think. So really having these two lists again gives us a roadmap on where we want to go, and we can design our parenting to really support this for ourselves and our kids. So let's explore this experientially right now. Again, the best that we can. So how many of you watching this right now have ever complained that your children don't listen? Or maybe you've heard other parents voice this complaint. Or maybe you're a teacher and you struggle with getting your students to listen. What we really mean when we say that our children don't listen is that they don't obey. So, what I've noticed is that many parents don't often model good listening. Instead, we talk. We tell children what happened, what caused it to happen, and what they should do about it. And that can look something like this. So to illustrate what telling versus asking would look like, feel like, and sound like, I'm going to invite you to kind of embody this adult right here that's in the background in this image. So you're going to play this parent, and you're going to imagine that you're saying to this child um, the following things. I'm going to read them out loud, and then I want you to either say them out loud or just to imagine yourself saying them to this child that's in front of us right now. So I'm going to pause between each statement to really give you a second to kind of take it in and feel it. I really would love for you to really take on this parent role and even do your best to kind of exaggerate it a little bit, some of the mannerisms and tones. And then we're going to kind of process this together for a few moments. So pay attention to what you're thinking, feeling, and deciding. Okay, so this is the telling parent. Go brush your teeth or you'll have a mouthful of cavities. Don't forget your coat. Go to bed now. Do your homework. Stop fighting with your brother. Put your dishes in the dishwasher. Hurry up and get dressed or you'll miss the bus. Stop whining. You are driving me crazy. Pick up your toys or I'll give them to children who don't have any. So let's just pause here for a second and see what that felt like. So maybe you floated in and out of feeling like I was saying that to you, or you were able to stay in the parent role and just kind of imagine what that felt like. You know, what were you thinking about? What were you feeling? And I can share my experience. I was feeling very agenda driven. I was feeling a little tense in my body. I was feeling some anger, frustration. And let's go back to the challenges and the future characteristics and life skills. I'm just going to look on here and see if I felt like I might be offering or providing any of these skills, any of these life skills in the ways that I was speaking to my child. Were any of these comments supportive of any of the characteristics and life skills that I have on the list? And I'm not really seeing like I was modeling too many of those. So now I'm going to invite you to play the child. So we're going to go back to our family interaction here, but this time I'm going to invite you to embody your inner child, that inner precious child, and really take in these next statements because now your parent has gone to a positive discipline workshop and is working on asking versus telling. So check in, notice what you're thinking, feeling, and deciding when I say these comments to you. So remember, you're embodying your inner child right now. You are a child and you're going to take in these statements, questions, and see what you're thinking, feeling, deciding, and notice even what your body's doing. What do you need to do so your teeth don't feel scuzzy? What are you taking so you won't be cold outside? What is next in your bedtime routine chart? What is your plan for doing homework? How can you and your brother solve this problem? What did we decide about what to do with our dishes when we're finished eating? What do you need to do so you can catch the bus on time? What words can you use so I can hear you? What is your responsibility when you are finished playing with your toys? Okay, so let's pause here. And as the child, just notice, what were you thinking, feeling, and deciding when you heard these questions? Were you learning anything from our characteristics and life skills? We'll go back to that. Just taking that in. I know that speaking as a parent, I felt like I was inviting um, more self motivation, going back to that internal locus of control, really inviting the child to make the choice and the decision and to think through it. Um, I was feeling connected with the child and definitely not feeling as rigid as I did with the telling statements. So, just moving on now, and sharing with you, why is it sometimes that we really struggle with remembering to ask our children versus kind of scolding and telling them? I know that we would all prefer cooperation and motivation from within versus obedience and fear from a child who might be learning to be an approval junkie, right? Just trying to please us. So, why is this so hard to do? Because we have buttons, and guess who knows how to push them? Our kids, right? So, this particular next skill that I'm going to share with you really teaches us how to work towards more emotional regulation. And Dan Siegel kind of created this really brilliant brain in the palm of your hand model. This is something that we can teach our children, but as adults, it's very important that we understand this too. And in case you're hearing things in the background, my dogs have joined us today. So this is the world of Zoom where our dogs and our children get included very often. So, all right. So I'm going to have you just raise your hand up, your hand and your wrist. I'm going to point to my wrist here. This is closest to the spine near the base of your skull. If this is the brain, then this is the brain stem. This is the part of the brain that keeps us awake or asleep, make sure we're breathing, make sure our heart keeps beating, also keeps us safe. So folding our thumb across our palm here, making like a number 4, this is the middle part of the brain where we process emotions, store memories, the limbic area. It's also where we have our safety radar, the amygdala. So this is the part of the brain, sometimes we call it the little brain, that is constantly kind of looking, am I safe? Is everything okay? I don't know. Then we've got the cortex here. So we're going to fold our fingers over our thumb. This is the outer part of the brain called the cortex. This is where thinking, planning happens. And right in the very front, we've got our prefrontal cortex, which is where the brain processes information about how to relate to others, how we understand others, their feelings. It's where our ability to calm ourselves lives, our morality, our ability to sense what's going on for others and read body language. Now, what happens when we get triggered? We flip our lid. So you might have experienced that a time or two. This is what happens when we get really stressed out, right? When we're upset, the prefrontal cortex goes offline. It's no longer online. Don't really have a lot of access to that. And so we have flipped our lid, and the thinking part of our brain, not online, like I said. So it really becomes hard to use problem solving skills. That's very important. So the question is, how do we learn how to get that prefrontal cortex back online? How do we learn how to self-soothe and emotionally regulate, get the big brain to kind of hug the little brain, right? A little more brain science, mirror neurons. So our brains are built so that we learn by copying. And so when we see someone yawn, you may ever notice how you yawn, or even how babies copy what they're seeing, our brains also mirror feelings. So when we're with other people who are sad, sometimes we can feel their sadness. The nerves, the neurons that do this are called mirror neurons. So when we have a flipped lid, what do you think might happen when the person we're with, what do you think that their lids might do? Their lids may flip as well. And so when we have two people that approach each other like this, it's usually not good. It's usually going to be conflict. This is where we need our emotional regulation skills, right? This is where we can teach emotional intelligence to our children. And so I'm just going to ask you right now to take a pause and think about what are some strategies to help you self soothe and regulate. And remember, the goal is to feel better so you can do better, not just as our parents, not just as a parent, but our children as well. So, really kind of take a moment here, or just take a little pause and think about things that often help you feel better. Um, for some, it can be to create a positive timeout, which is the skill that you'll learn about in one of our workshops. This is not a punitive timeout. This is a positive timeout, a place where you can go, relax, self soothe to get that adult brain, get that big brain back online, a place where you can kind of remove yourself from the stress, take some breaths before you return. And now for children at home, they can create a place, they can do this with their parents that is soothing and calming for them. We can have their books, their favorite blanket, pillows. Um, Teenagers can do the same, have their own little book nook or just like a sensory corner. And for parents, that might look different for you. It might look similar. So really just remember, we want to model these skills. And so if you're feeling a little dysregulated, finding a way for you to help self-soothe yourself so that you can interact with your child in a way that supports thinking about those future characteristics and life skills. So I'm going to share with you some of the upcoming, these are the different services that I provide. And I would love for you to reach out to me if any of these sound interesting to you and you'd like to work together on learning more positive discipline. The workshops that I do are very interactive. Right now, everything's online. Eventually, we'll try to do some in person or a combination of the two. Again, this is something that anyone all over the world and many all over the world are using these tools. So it's very experiential, it's very live and interactive, it's very invitational to notice what you're thinking and feeling and deciding. We have parent parties, we have parenting workshops, and I can do also custom workshops for schools or families. Yeah, so just kind of take a look through those and see if any of those are interesting to you. please let me know. And I did want to share one of the most beautiful pieces I have found about positive discipline. Um, just coming back again here quickly is about not just focusing on the behavior, but actually getting curious about what's the motivating force behind the behavior. So, a lot of parenting programs deal just with the behavior, but in positive discipline, we've learned that it's not until you work with the belief underneath the behavior that any type of shift can really, any type of sustaining shift, as well as opportunities to develop those life skills that we talked about, can happen. The belief underneath positive discipline, it's all built on Adlerian psychology, Rudolf Dreiker's psychology, that we really want to foster that sense of belonging and significance in our children. And if we keep that in the forefront of our mind with every interaction, day in and day out, we are going to help really foster quite incredible, capable young people. So I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for coming. Thanks for putting up with my doggy snores and sounds. And here's my information. Really look forward to hearing from you if this is something that you would like to do. Take very good care, and I hope to connect with you sometime in the future.